So now we have a better understanding of each of these psychographic segments. I think the important thing for our listeners to understand is the power of this understanding. So if I have other issues inside my workforce, could be safety, could be human resource issues, it could be leadership that I'm trying to deploy inside the organization. If I have a better understanding of my workforce, the impact of each of these segments, how to communicate to them, what to communicate to them, even simple things like preferred color and communication paths, I can make a significant impact inside my organization. But you have to care enough to want to make that difference. So one of the things that we were talking about is, okay, so we've got great ideas. So how do we operationalize this strategy? So when we talk about that, one of the things, our first relationship started with addressing the medically homeless. So getting people a relationship with a primary care physician. So I think we know that's important. So how do we do that, touching each one of those segments?
Well, interestingly enough, when we got this going, it was really like, where are we going to do it? I think we picked 4 different plants and kind of getting things set up with the HR team so they knew everything we were going to do. But how we operationally deploy this is we basically build communication workflows for each of the 5 groups. So some groups are going to get heavy email, some are going to get text, some are going to get voicemail. There's going to be different frequencies. Some we're going to put in some of these embedded actions where we can ask questions. Do they believe this? Do they need more information? Do they need to talk to somebody? But each of those things is designed differently for each of the 5 groups. So if we take self-achievers, for instance, the real theme behind this was you take ownership in your health. The physician is just one more asset for you to stay on top of your game.
So that's
Self-achiever.
Okay.
So
Number
balance
2?
seeker, that group, we talk about the choices and options to live a healthier life. There's a lot of different tools out there for you. The physician is one of the better ones. And here are all the benefits of that, and you can compare and contrast with other things you can do, but here's the rationale for why a physician should be a part of that choice.
Gotcha. Number 3?
Priority jugglers. This is a group that, when we talked about, by and large, don't really think too much about themselves. So the whole theme behind this one was there's people depend on you. You have work responsibilities.
Yeah, really important.
You're the caregiver for your family. So all of the communications are wrapped around, it's not about you, it's about everybody else. We need you in tip-top shape. Therefore, here's the reason to have a primary care physician. So the next group, strong survivors. This is a group where we talk about each and every day being the best day it can be. And by having a physician or getting an appointment, finding out where you're at, it allows you to take the first step to have a better, healthier life. Because again, the whole focus is around here and now, today, first step. And then the last group is active listeners. This is a group that likes the credentialed expert, and we were much more forthright on that one, saying, these are credentialed experts. These are the things we know you rely on. We need you to get a primary care provider. So that one had a little bit more authority type feel to it. But those are really the 5 different ways we got at these groups.
What's great about that, I mean, we're taking one initiative, a relationship with a primary care physician, which carriers have said for decades. HR has attempted to say and cares, right? And all you're doing is taking that one strategy, operationalizing it 5 different directions to impact the lives of people.
And we were pretty successful at it.
Yeah.
And it's not magic. It's not rocket science. The idea is saying things in the way that a person wants to receive that information. Everything that Casey talked about are things we've all said all the time to different people. It's a matter of knowing what to say, to whom, when, where, and with what frequency.
Yeah.
And that's what this whole mechanism is all about.
And how long before we let go.
Yeah.
Because there's some groups, you can stay after them until they say yes. There's other ones where you're going to wear them out and upset them, where you have to get action much quicker than with the other ones.
I think what we love about understanding this in a deeper way is, our vision is delivering healthier birthdays to people. And how do we do that? We've got to look at people where they are and be available when they're ready, and give them information that's useful and valuable to them. And when we understand those 5 segments in a completely different way, it just lifts up our ability to make an impact in our communities. So as you think of PatientBond and what you're doing right now, what are some exciting things that's happening right now for the 2 of you?
There's a lot of different things we've done at the employers, and some things we're involved in right now. Everything from how do you get people to fill out their HRAs. We've been pretty successful at that. How do you get people to a biometric screening? And even more important, now that we know some of these metrics, we've done things around, okay, now that we know you have a risk of diabetes, how do we get you back to the physician? We call that, filling a care gap.
Yeah, and a lot of the communications on the PatientBond platform are all digital communications. But we've done a lot of work on training health coaches and other clinicians on how to engage one-on-one. It could be in person, it could be over the phone, it could be telemedicine. But what are the words to use and the words to lose when you're actually wanting to influence that patient's behavior so they do the right things?
So how do you get people to use a primary care versus go to an ER room? We've done things around hospital discharges on heart failure. There's been things we've done on getting people back to a specific medical group to see certain types of doctors. Quite often, an employer will say, have you guys ever done this? And even if we haven't, it takes us a couple of weeks to basically construct the work.
You bring up something really interesting. So I'm being discharged from the hospital. And what's really interesting, you have all these instructions. Based on the segmentation of that individual and probably their spouse, whoever is with them, understanding that person is really important.
It is. We've done a lot of things on discharges, and with some groups, we load them up. Like Brent talks about balance seekers. These people are thirsty for information. We can send long emails. We can put several links in the communication. With an active listener, I'm going to be much more concise about what are the directions. Some people might get 6 or 7 things over 30 days. Another group might get 16 different communications. But it's taking that big bulk of information and basically cutting it down, putting it in bite-sized chunks, and saying it in a way that resonates with that specific segment.
Yeah, because it's important even for people to understand, especially for a Medicare population. If that person is readmitted back in the hospital, the fact that there potentially is no reimbursement back for a health system. So not only is it to increase the health of the patient, but also the health system could be financially on the hook for a readmit.
Absolutely.
And that's really what we try to do is how do we keep people healthy, and then once they're not, what do we do to get them back to that state? So those are really the premises of what PatientBond
And it was that work that actually attracted the attention of the American Heart Association. So,
Which is a brand new relationship.
It is a brand new relationship where we're collaborating on trying to reduce the incidence of cardiovascular disease. And Casey's been leading a lot of the workflows and product development around that joint product offering.
But there's readmissions work. There's the general health and wellness. So how do we keep people healthy, much like I talked about a few minutes ago, using all the AHA's assets. And then for people that have a condition, we're calling that program condition management. For a 12-month period, what are all the things we can do and say on all the different topics that can keep somebody healthy, regardless of what type of cardiac disease they have?
Well, thanks for spending time with us. And thanks for spending the time to understand maybe the human condition of this big problem called healthcare. And I don't care if you talk about it in regards to the cost issue in this country or the disease impact or the health status. But when we spend time understanding people and understanding of the problem, for the most part, we can come up with better solutions. And so we just appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the
Have a
opportunity.
great day.